helps people to understand and connect with their own purpose, and helps employers to find people whose purpose matches their own.
Welcome back, all my viewers from Strategic Selling Group and beyond. I've got Ian Lowe with me again, and I want to extend on from our last discussion, Ian, and that was we're talking about a culture of purpose in an organisation, and you used a good case study, which was the interior design company. And at the end we started talking about, well, you do need people who will fit that culture, the culture of purpose and that will buy into that purpose. So I want to talk about recruitment a little bit and how we go about recruiting people that will buy in and work with us in our culture of purpose.
Hey, you know what? I think it's a really, really interesting area that we're spending a bit of time in at the moment. So if you think about it, John, there's been a lot of disruption over recent years. Uber's changed how we ride.
Sure has.
Airbnb has changed how we stay. And Netflix has changed how we watch. You know, there's been dramatic disruption over recent years. Entire industries have been transformed.
And destroyed.
And there's one sector, though, that hasn't really evolved much over the past 10, 20 years. And I think that sector is recruitment.
Okay, well, I mean, recruitment has changed, though, hasn't it? I mean, we look at, contributors like LinkedIn has changed the way a lot of people go through the process of recruitment.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly more players now. I mean, there's in Australia, there's about 7,000 recruitment organisations, believe it or not.
So they must all be making an income. They must be achieving the end result to some extent.
There were certainly lots of placements. There were lots of job boards like Seek and Career One and LinkedIn and Indeed. There's lots of activity in that space. But if you think about the actual process of recruitment, it's pretty much about matching skills on a CV with the skills in the job. So if I'm looking for a BDM, for example, typically recruiters, whether they're doing it themselves via a job board or whether they're using an agency, are looking to match skills on a CV with the skills in the job.
Right. Yeah. I understand that, but isn't that right? We've got to have the right skills on board, and I think behaviour. We've got to test behaviour a little bit.
Yeah, skills are certainly important, but people can learn skills, right? I mean, certainly we need to have a certain level of competency in a given role. But one thing that really isn't being looked at, isn't being matched, is what are the purpose drivers of that individual, and how do we hire people that have the types of purpose drivers that will align with the purpose of this organisation, so that we get a great melding of purpose, so that one amplifies the other. But it's not something that's really being looked at. And you see organisations constantly making hires of people that actually don't stick, and turnover is quite high.
And you find you go through the onboarding process, and even by the end of the onboarding process, there's something not clicking here between the individual and the organisation.
Yeah, and so it doesn't work for the candidate, it doesn't work for the client, and it doesn't work for the employer, and it doesn't work for the end client, because then the productivity and the results that employee was hired to produce don't get produced because they're not engaged in their work.
And typically, because of that lack of engagement, the employer won't be happy, and you get the turnover of staff, that you don't get the retention levels you really need to build the culture in the organisation that everybody embraces.
Absolutely right, and especially in sales. If you're in a sales role and you think your job is to get out there and sell more of the stuff that your employer has, then it's going to be a pretty tough life. Getting out of bed every day to sell more of that stuff, that's really not working on purpose.
Okay. So obviously the solution is to ensure that when we talk to individuals, when we look at recruiting individuals, we're focused on whether their innate purpose in life can be gelled with the purpose of our organisation. Is that what you're saying? How do we go about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, there are a range of great tools out there now. This, I think, is one of the great developments over recent times, this shift to greater awareness of what purpose is and how it all works. Some fantastic tools out there. One tool is a tool called Imperative. Was founded by a chap called Aaron Hurst, who is the author of a book called The Purpose Economy, which we've spoken about. It's a fantastic assessment that really helps people to understand and connect with their own purpose, and helps employers to find people whose purpose matches their own.
Makes a lot of sense. So what you're saying is, whatever recruitment process we go through, you're not going to disrupt it that much. You're just going to make sure, aside from the skills and competencies, we really need to focus on the cultural fit of this organisation or this person around our organisation, particularly alignment of purpose. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So is that disruption?
I think there are a number of elements that are going to disrupt recruitment more generally. I think this addition of this purpose drivers is is an evolution in the hiring process, rather than maybe disruption. But there are other factors out there that are disrupting recruitment on a larger scale.
Okay, so this message is for organisations hiring people. They need to understand their own purpose as an organisation and ensure their people are embracing that. And then when they hire, they need to hire people or test people for their own purpose and whether the purpose is going to align and fit with them as an organisation.
Absolutely, and it might not. And that's okay too, right? Because the worst thing you could do is get someone who comes in and they don't have the right purpose driver.
They've got all the skills and competencies we need to do a great job, but if they haven't got the right alignment of purpose to our organisation, they're going to be unhappy. It's going to be seen by customers. It's really going to be a disruption to our organisation that we don't need.
Yep.
Okay. Great point, and hopefully that's a great message out there for all those recruiters and for the sales managers and sales leaders in our business who are hiring salespeople. But I mean, across the organisation, not just salespeople, it's consultants, anybody else, anybody particularly.
Purpose is universal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Ian, that's a great message from the audience. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Look forward to the next discussion.
Looking forward to it as well, John. See you soon.